My name is Meoka, and I have a company, two companies, Meoka Pilates,
Mhm.
and I also have my other company, Heels Out, which is a movement to empower women.
Awesome. Let's talk about Meoka Pilates first.
Okay.
How did you get that started?
I about 5 years ago, I was certified with Peak Pilates,
Okay.
and at the time, I was a full-time high school dance teacher, and I had two kids. And I was like, I'm getting the certification, but I already know that I'm not going to have time to work in anybody's studio. And I had commitment issues. I'm like, I can't commit to a schedule, someone else's schedule, when mine is already crazy. So I went in getting my certification, knowing that I was going to go into business for myself right away. So I'm
Okay.
like looking at everybody like, hey, y'all are great. I'm about to get this cert and I'm about to start my own business. And that's just how I went into it. And so after that, I just decided to do Meoka Pilates because at the time, there's Peak Pilates, Stop Pilates. And I'm like, well, let me throw my name in front of Pilates because
Hmm.
over time, who knows what it could evolve into.
True.
And I just started teaching classes like renting studios, teaching group classes, Pilates, mat Pilates. And then I created a class called Unleash because the women that were working with me, I wanted them to have an opportunity to burn calories and to be able to do Pilates at the same time. So I created a class because I do have a group fitness background where
Hmm.
it was half of the class was kickboxing and the other half was like hardcore Pilates. And
Yes.
so it was just a high intensity, super duper calorie burning class. I did that for a while. And then after that, I kind of tapered off, went into virtual. I was doing virtual training before Zoom started COVID. And so when that
Yes.
happened, I was like, oh, this is cute, but I had already been doing virtual training, just completely tapered off. And so I think it's really awesome to see how many people have been able to, for some people, it hasn't been an easy transition,
Right.
but just to see people diving into that virtual training. So that's pretty much what Yoga Pilates is. It started off as me wanting to do Pilates because I loved it just like you do and many other people,
Hmm.
which is why we do it. Making it my own business so I could control my time, and then creating a class, and then also doing the virtual platform. And that tapered off, and it picked back up as I became a part-time Pilates instructor, which is what I do now. And
Okay.
I do my other business, Heels Out, as well. That's my
Wow.
side piece baby that I'm growing. So
Yes, exactly. It's so fun to be just chasing after different projects like that too, right? And
yeah,
just really connecting and feeling good. Um, the thing I like about the online too, like you're saying, is people start to take ownership of their workouts a little bit more when it's online as well,
right.
which I like, right? Because I mean, we get people who just you follow their instructors and they just listen to them and they hang off their every word. And
Hmm.
then when we had to shift to this virtual thing and they didn't have a choice,
Yeah.
then they had to take more ownership of the process for themselves.
Yeah, and it's like all of us Pilates instructors had to get down on the mat, because we become very colorful in our cueing, and we
Mhm.
just walk and we use our eyes and we use our voices. And then next thing you know, when COVID hit, we're all on the mat, in virtual training, trying to show everybody how to do the
Yes,
moves. So
which is
that was probably the biggest transition, going from just being able to cue to like getting down on the mat and having to demonstrate everything.
yes. And we get better, right? Like I love the
Yeah,
fact that it gets us sharp. We gotta work on some different cues. We can't do tactile cues anymore. Like, well, how are you gonna get
yeah.
people moving, right?
Yeah. It got to the point where I'm like, okay, y'all, this next move, you face the back. And then I'm back like the hooch, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody
I'm
face the
gonna,
back wall. We're going to do this kick, you know what I'm
yes,
saying?
yes. Sneak in those little breaks.
Exactly.
Yeah, so fun. And then heels out.
Hmm. Heels Out
Yes.
it's my baby. I'm excited about it. I appreciate you just bringing it up, but it was something I started about 3 years ago.
Hmm.
I was on a trip with a friend for her birthday in DR, and we were kind of just playing around, like women, we get together, we do crazy things, and so we're just dancing around and musing, and we're talking about this video that was trending. It was a heels dancer, and I was like, well, this would be so fun if I could do this for my birthday. I'm gonna hire somebody, and I'm gonna have a birthday party, and we're gonna dance and dance sexy and have a good time. And
Hmm.
then I was like, wait a minute. There are times when my kids are gone, I'm in the mirror, I'm like, yeah, it was sexy, I can dance, and I have a degree in dance, a BFA, I have the
Hmm.
loans to prove it. And I was like, why not just maximize that degree? And I just throw my own, heels party. And I was super nervous. So I was like, okay, I got to drink. I can't, at this point I had danced professionally, modern contemporary. I was a high school dance teacher. And I was like, there's no way I can teach this class. People are going to be like, what is she doing? Who is this person? Why is she dancing like this? Just the feelings of shame that we have. Unfortunately, women just being sexy or being able to express being sexy. So I was like, I got to drink. And so our coin became like more drinking, less thinking. So I had wine at the class for all the ladies. We had a great time. And after that class, it was, I only was going to do a small class. I ended up selling it out over 30 ladies for my first class. And I was like, you know what? This is fun. And it's helping me make income, which I needed. And I was like, I think I can keep this going. And I just kept it going. I was just doing one time a month. My second year business, that's when I started bringing on new instructors. Right now, I have an amazing team of 5 instructors, mostly here in Houston, 1 in Atlanta. And I'm just excited to see how it grew. It was just something that was just fun. And me just like let me maximize my degree. Let me maximize how far can I take this. So now we just host events where we allow women to have a safe space to come and dance and feel sexy. Hey, Nadi is one of them. To feel sexy and to just have a good time. And that's what we do.
That is awesome. I love so many parts of that. Like anything entrepreneurial, I'm like, tell me more. The fact that you already have a degree in it, so you're just maximizing what you already have is another thing. And overcoming your own fears around it. That is awesome.
Right.
That is awesome. So what's your, how did you overcome those fears to do that? Like you were saying, I feel like I always want to examine that because everyone has their own process of talking themselves off the ledge, right? Like we all get to the point where like, yeah, I should do that. No, I'm not going to do it. Okay, I'm going to do it. Right. Like
we do. I think it's like once you push the button and you put it out into the universe or you let it fall in someone else's ears, to me, that's accountability. And then I have to do it, unless it's just really a horrible idea, I just have to do it. And I'm a big component of like staying in my lane, so I do Pilates and I dance, so if I can maximize Pilates as much as I can and maximize dance as much as I can, that feels normal, and I think sometimes people get caught up in like, well, this person is doing this, or maybe I should do this, or someone's like, well, why don't you go and do this? And I'm like, but that's not me, So being able to do that class, it was just like I was in my lane already. So it felt okay. Was I nervous? Yeah, I worked my butt off. I didn't want to fail. I was like, what if I do this and one person shows up, So I was just like, just really, rolling up my sleeves and, inviting people. It was kind of a new concept what I was doing. My phone keeps, I don't know if I have to put the setting different.
I can actually still see you even if it fades out.
Oh, you can? Okay, cool. Yeah. And so I was just, I didn't want to fail. And I guess I shouldn't say I didn't want to fail. I wanted to be successful. I'd rather err on the side of positivity. So all I could think about was just it being successful. So that kind of overtook the fear. So I think that if people can think about terms of not living in fear of failing, but, the drive to be successful helps. If you think more of success versus not failing, think about how can I be successful. It helps. It helped me.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And then also on the dance side of it, being nervous, and then doing it anyways, feeling the fear and doing it anyways, like that kind of concept.
Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't just me. It was all the women. I mean, I knew at that point that it was, if I felt nervous, a lot of the women in the class did too, because this was not a class in New York or LA where all the dancers were professional. My classes are actually created and curated for women with little to no experience. We're really just focusing on a safe place for women to feel, have a good time in judgment-free zone and, and dance. So it's not like the dance is going to be super hard. The hardest part for a lot of women is just the courage to come and tap into that sexiness, because we have so many shame bullets around us when it comes to a woman and being sexy.
Yes, absolutely.
Crazy.
So expand on safe space. Like, what does it mean to create a safe space? And what does that actually look like?
I love that question. For women, I know it's hard for us in most aspects, even men to walk into a room and have eyes like right on you. And so a safe place is just when you come in. We have even from the get from we have a hostess that's super friendly to greet you and check you in. It's very understood. The culture of the class is that it's a judgment-free zone. It's in our marketing. It's in our branding. Safe spaces in our marketing. It's in our branding. It just means that if you decide to be a part of the experience, you have to come with that open mind and that positive spirit. A
Yes.
person that's going to come to my class and look around and be judgmental, or maybe even not even give themselves the benefit of the doubt to try,
Yes.
that's not going to work in my class. You know, the women who come have to be open-minded or be willing to be open-minded and be open to the experience and be supportive of other women. It's like, can you be in a space, even in a Pilates studio, where there's no judgment when you look to your right or to your left of what that person is doing? What if you just don't have an opinion at all? Can you just
Hmm.
really not have an opinion at all? And so what we do in our class at the beginning is we do like an oath,
Okay.
and because for all of us it starts in our head, so we do an oath right off that addresses it being a judgment-free zone, not judging anyone, giving yourself the benefit of the doubt, to be sexy, to be confident. And that really goes a long way if we kind of just set the precedent right at the beginning. And it's been working okay. I've only had a few instances where there was women came and it was like, oh Jesus, you know. And it was only a few times, but those are the people that should not be in my class, and that's
Right.
okay. It's really not for everyone,
Right.
but for a lot of women, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Have you ever had to actually police that? Like, okay, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave, sort of thing?
I have not. Our hostess do a really good job at doing that. You know, as an instructor,
Yeah.
when we're moving the class,
Yes.
we don't do that. But our hostess do a really good job, even if it's just going up. Because sometimes, you know, we may perceive, even if you're like teaching and you feel like this person. I've taught you know, at Pilates, and I've had ladies looking at me like the death stare. And I'm like, oh my god,
Yes.
they hate me. They hate me. They're like, what is she doing? And when I talk to them, they're like, I'm just trying to understand what you mean by crown of your head. And
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, okay. So
Right.
sometimes it's not even what we perceive. Even with that lady, you know, I've heard someone like, oh, they were doing splits in there, but you know, it was because whoever it was me, I wanted to do a split, you
Hmm.
know. And so the thing is that if you're not able to be in a space where you can just be in a space and not judge others, then it's not a good space. But I've
Yeah.
never had a hard time with anyone. But there have been a few instances where I've had people like, oh, this class is not for them, you know.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's fine. They're allowed to have that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I was gonna say too with that, you create a safe space and it's something that's great for for people to feel that confidence. And I lost my train of thought. Like, you know when you want to ask a question but you don't want to interrupt someone because they're
I
on yeah.
know.
Um, but anyway, but that's great. I think you're doing amazing work with that. And that whole sense of building people's confidence and that sense of sexiness within them. What is your strategy for women who are just bombarded by, like you said, those shame bullets? Like, how do we get over that just in everyday life outside of your class?
With women who are just dealing with that, I think just like what we're doing right now, having conversations about it, dialogue, and just sometimes hearing other people say that it's okay. And then I also like to say that because the stigma of sexy obviously is like sex or being promiscuous or being sexy for someone,
For
but I
someone,
kind of
right?
err away from that, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Hmm.
And it's like the sexy can translate into confidence. It can also translate into how you move around in your life. You know, like, man, if I can conquer this, then I can conquer an interview. I can walk into a room and not worry if 10 people are looking at me. I can face my fears, you know, and that's what I'm hoping with that is just the conversations. It's okay. This is what this is. When you feel sexy, this is how it translates into the different facets of your life. It's not just about being, you know, those other things. Now, I always say when you walk out of the room, what you do with it, that's totally up to you, you know,
Mm,
how
yes.
you take it. But I think the conversations are really, really helpful.
Any conversation that bolsters people's confidence,
Mhm.
I'm all over it. I did a podcast last night with Masoni. I think she's on here still, and we were talking about confidence and talking
Mhm.
about that "So Am I" post, that
Yeah.
Finish Strong Friday post, and as I was talking, I was saying, a lot of things about the way I feel about confidence, and I almost felt like I was coming across like cocky, like I just just oozing this confidence to the point where it seemed cocky to me. And I actually did apologize if it came across that way. And she was like, no, 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 that's fine. But I
Right.
think that is part of our culture, almost to be apologetic when
Right.
you're confident.
Yeah, and when I read it, I didn't see that. I saw what we all feel sometimes, like that imposter syndrome a little bit, like, what am I doing here? I shouldn't be here. I'm not really as good as these other people. But I didn't read it as cocky. I just love that post because I'm like, I wish we were able to correlate. So am I. So am I. So am I. And it was like this meme I saw that, you uplifting another person, it does not say less for you. And even that, I try to remember that all the time when I start to feel that, because we all feel, I mean,
Yes.
I feel that way.
Yep.
And when I see another person doing great, I'm like, man, they're doing good, but it doesn't take away from my greatness. There's a lot of great people. There are a gazillion great people in the world,
Yes. Yeah.
So I just try to remember that. So that post really resonated because I like slapped that on the shirt. So am I, because it's so true. It's
Yes.
so true.
Absolutely. And I can look at what you're doing. Like you said, you've done Pilates for 5 years, started another business, put your name on that business, and you're 3 years in, you have 5 people working for you. There are people that have been doing Pilates for 20 years that don't even have their own space. Or there are
Right.
people that have, an idea to do a dance class and there's just not, it's so easy to look at what you've done in a small time, maximizing the few things that you have in your hands,
Right.
and you get there, and then that becomes a discouragement for someone who has plenty in their hands and are not doing very much with it.
Right.
So
And
yeah,
I
good.
can see how that would make someone feel. But
And
I was
no,
gonna say,
sorry,
the
go.
thing is, we all have the power to do it. Even if we go a
Yes.
different way about doing it. And what most people don't know, even if you say, okay, you're doing this and this is amazing. You got core conversations. You got these videos. You're building this following. It's amazing. You're putting men on the map for doing Pilates, which thank you, because I just need my boys to do more Pilates. But it's like, you can look at that, but then if you what I think about is that if you look at what someone else is doing, you have to also think about the behind the scenes of how they're making this stuff happen.
Yes.
It's not easy all the time.
It's not. Right.
No.
Exactly. Exactly. And we were both trying to jump in with that point of everyone can do something, right? With,
Yeah, we all can do something.
everyone can do something. And I think that that's it. And if you're doing your something with all of your effort and all of your energy, like you said earlier, just staying in your lane and doing the things that you do really, really well,
Right.
you'll get very far with that. But we get distracted and we start something, we see something shiny, and then we turn over here, right? Like we don't stay with it long enough to see it manifest.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But that's just it. It's just to do the thing that you do well and just to stay with it. And I've been musing on that a lot because, as you know, like that so am I thing also ties into what we see as valuable, right? Like
Right.
if you look at that post, you can't use the sentence so am I with things that you have.
Right.
It can't be with material items. So if I look at you, I can say she is influencing women.
Hmm.
And well, so am I. I'm having a conversation with someone who can amplify that voice.
Right.
As opposed to saying she has beautiful long hair. It's like, well,
Hmm.
just,
Well, I know damn.
yeah, so like, so you can't be focused on the
I mean, I know,
material.
what I'm saying, but it's smoke and mirrors.
Smoking, but you have to look at your character. You have to, like, that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, who are we from the inside out? So that's the main thing with it.
Yeah.
Circling back to Pilates for a second, how did you find Pilates?
I found Pilates. Pilates found me. That's
Oh,
it.
yes.
I was in college, and one of my professors, his wife was going through the training. So of course, you got to have hours of observation and working on bodies. So she just, asked, "Hey, who wants to do some Pilates?" It was like an early morning shift, and I didn't really think I knew exactly what it was, but I was on board. Oh, you know what? after I had my first son, when Netflix used to send like the paper, the red, envelopes with the DVDs,
Yes.
I
Yes.
was doing like Pilates on there, and it was like where you like standing, like doing all, whatever they did
Yeah.
on those DVDs.
Yeah.
Back in the day. So that was my day Pilates, but I liked it. And it
Mhm.
helped because I was, with dancing. I felt like it made me a stronger dancer. So I said, I'll do it. I signed up. I was doing early morning sessions. And so in one day in my ballet class, my professor was like, something looks different. I don't know what it is, but whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And she didn't know that I had been training
Okay.
bodies consistently. And that was really enough to like just make me get on board with it. And so when I was kind of deciding where I wanted to go in life, I was like, okay, either I love fitness. I've always been a fitness enthusiast. I was like, okay, am I going to do personal training or I'm going to do Pilates? And I decided to take the more expensive route and do the Pilates certification.
Yes.
And I don't regret it. I love it. And I just felt like it worked well for what I was doing with dance, although, it's not just for dance, but that is how it resonated for me. It makes me feel
Yes.
strong.
Great. Yes. And I love the strong message. And I feel like I'm a crusader for it's not just for dancers as well.
Mm-mm. No, even though we've taken it and like, it's ours, it's
Man, you have a bear hug on it. I'm just trying to like pry it out of your hands because like men need it, right? Like
we
athletes need it.
do.
It's a missing link for the elite athlete to the grandfather who wants to be able to chase his kids. I feel like it's for everybody. And dancers make it look amazing. They make it look attractive and the splits and this and that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a strongman sport too. Like I like to throw it at people and for them to just realize where they're not as strong as they thought they were.
Yeah, and just the functionality. And a part of me, this is probably horrible, but when working with men, I'm just kind of like, because I already know,
That evil laugh.
I'm not trying to make it hard. It's just, it teaches you about your body.
Mhm.
It teaches you about your body in a different way. And even like you said, with guys, my boys, I love for them to see, even when we did the Zoom workshop with Black Girl Pilates, and
Yes.
all of you beautiful men were on there, and I was like, "Come here, come look," and my son, I
Yes.
thought he was like, "Hey, he waved," but I'm like, I need you to see this. Like, these are men doing
Yes.
Pilates, because for him as an athlete, the body is constantly going through so much, and even my son has like lordosis, extreme sway back, strong, visible abdominals, but a very extreme low back. So he's not even
Yes.
understanding how to engage the front abdominals and open up the hip flexors in front. So I'm just like, the other day I'm like, son, like you need to watch your posture. This is not
Hmm.
gonna be good for your lower back. But I get to tell him that because I understand the body in that way. But it's important, I am a big advocate for men, anybody to do Pilates because it just makes you
Yes.
stronger and it teaches you about your body and the mind body connection. I always tell
Mhm.
people, if you don't get anything else out of this, you're just going to become a great listener because when we give
Thank
them
you.
cues, you
Yes.
gotta listen.
Yeah, exactly. There's something about being present, right? Like
Yeah.
before I was really into Pilates, I did yoga from time to time, and I could take it or leave it with yoga, but I loved the fact that I needed to be present.
Yeah.
You're focusing on your breathing, you're focusing on all these different things. Like it brought me into the room, and I'm very conscientious of bringing that into Pilates, where it's like, okay, you here? Like,
Right.
are you here?
Are you here?
Right?
Don't
Like
fall asleep.
don't fall asleep. I'm gonna just throw a curveball at you and see if you're still paying attention, right? Like
Right.
that presence is there. And like you said a second ago, Meoka, too, I love like bringing your sons on to see black men on the screen. I don't take that lightly. Like I feel like there's a sense that that is part of what I'm doing is just being visible out here, if nothing else, right? Like there needs
Everything.
to be that eyes on men moving in Pilates, right?
Yeah, when you think about men, you think okay, athletes, but I because I dance, I thought, oh, I want to work with dancers. That's what I want to do, and for the reason like we can point our toes, we can kick our legs, and that's easy. But when I started working, taking on a few sessions at the studio where I was training, I got a chance to work with seniors and senior citizens, and then I became very passionate about that, and it was super rewarding to see how much they appreciate it, or even a client saying, they have to work the muscles of the seat because they have to have assistance to sit on the toilet. So I always joke when I talk about the seat, I'm like, I want to make sure you can sit on the toilet as long as possible without the assistance of someone else. I'm like, that's the gift of Pilates, you know? And
Yes.
just think about things, or people like, you know, when I'm driving, I can look over my shoulder, and we don't think that, because right now I can look and I can just snap my neck and snap it back. But then, you know, those seniors who are like, look, I need to be able to drive. I need to be able to look over my shoulder. That's like chest expansion. So that it's become really rewarding to work with just all demographics when you see what it really does. It's crazy.
Yeah. I just wrote that down. Like, I was like, ooh, the gift of Pilates. Like, that's the gift of Pilates. Like,
Pilates.
it's so funny you say that, because the line I used to say, or I still use it with my clients, is like, that's what we're training for. When they come in like, oh, you know, on the weekend, what did you do this weekend? Well, you know, we had some soil delivered and I made 14 trips back and forth to the backyard with the wheelbarrow and no one helped me and I'm not sore today. I'm like, that's what we trained for.
Yes.
Right? Like, that's what you're saying. Like, that's the gift of Pilates.
That's the gift of Pilates. Yeah. Keep
Love
it
that.
you know, keep it functional, keep your body moving, and just feel good in your body. You know, even when I say, you know, when I was 20 versus how I feel now, I couldn't even see myself, you know, and I tell people, hey, you're taking Pilates now, just, you know, you're gonna do this for the rest of your life, so just get used to it. Because I couldn't see myself not doing it for the rest of my life, because I couldn't imagine how my joints or how my body would feel without it, you know. I just want more people to just make it a lifestyle. Once you start, just don't stop, because you're gonna miss how your body feel, you know.
Absolutely. That's so funny you say that, because like Pilates is that. Like, it's not like weight training where I'm gonna be doing Olympic lifts and squats and deadlifts till I'm, you know, 97.
Right.
I might, but Pilates really has a longevity factor to it. And this makes me laugh, because there's a person who was talking about like some Pilates exercises, and we introduced them to the chair, and they're like, wow, this is great. You know, like, how long do I have to do this for? Like, to actually see, and it's like you're doing this the rest of your life. Like, this isn't just like, this isn't just a one-time kick just to get you like buns of steel and then you can move on to something else. Like, this is it, right?
Yeah, it's not that. Lifelong practice. And I would say get comfortable on that reformer. Make sure if you've never touched your headrest, play around with it, because you want to not have a comfortable ride. This is going to be a lifelong ride. It's a lifelong practice. So make sure you feel comfortable on that thing, you know?
Absolutely. Are you doing any other courses or like continuing your education with Pilates, or are you more diving into your dance right now?
I have been riding pretty far with just my level 1 with my certification. So I go back and forth, like, you know, there are days I'm like, I want to be master certified, you know, and I want to be like the best of the best of the best of the top, you know, and then other days I'm like, girl, stop, you know, sit down. And so I go back and forth between, you know, how far, you know, when you think about like the vision for what you want for your life, and have to think, okay, do I need that for what I'm looking to do in the long term? And I can't answer that. I can't say, is it necessary for me to be master certified? Is it necessary? You know, I feel good about just doing what you're doing. You're shining light on men doing Pilates. I have a community of people who still ask me, is Pilates like yoga? And I'm like, not quite.
Not yet.
So I feel like there's a community of people that I have access to that could really benefit from what I do, and I don't have to be master certified to do it.
Honestly,
yeah.
That's a beautiful answer, and that's the unconventional answer, because everyone thinks you just need to chase and get as high as you can, as far as you can. But that is so true. If your calling at this moment is to introduce people to this world of movement, you have what you need to do that until further notice.
You do, and there's so many. There's always going to be a big, large demographic of people who do not know about it than those who do. You know,
exactly.
And I feel comfortable, and I feel proud to be able to just, you know, have the opportunity to offer it to people who still think Pilates is yoga. You know. And without being condescending, with being genuine. It's still funny when people say it, because I'm still trying to figure out how to explain it. I'm like, well, yoga is, and then Pilates is, and I'm like, it's a system of exercises, but and I'm like, they have no idea what I'm talking about. Like, just watch the video. You know,
okay, so
interesting to know. I want to know how you explain what Pilates is, because when I'm like, okay, it's a system of exercises, it's generate use of your core. They're like, what? And I'm like, you just got to see it. You know, I don't know how to get it.
So you want to hear my elevator pitch on what Pilates is?
Please, yes.
Because I was going to ask you that first, but you hit me up first. So,
I just gave it.
Well, I think I would say Pilates is, like you said, a system of exercise that's going to improve your core, improve your posture, and you're going to feel better.
Okay, I like that.
And then, I know, right? And then if I had an athlete in front of me, I always finish with saying, and it's a missing link for your training right now.
I love that. I love that.
It really is going to be like that. It's going to make you strong in your weakest links, right? And we both know that, like your squat, your glute min, which you never use. You use your big muscles, and those small stabilizer muscles aren't doing anything, right? So so I just basically throw that out there. It's going to help your posture, your core strength, and you're going to feel better. It's a missing link for you as an athlete, and it's going to get you strong in your weakest links.
The missing link to take you to the next level, you know?
Yes, exactly. And just like a salesman, I just leave it out there.
Not even.
And just wait.
Let me get signed up. I know I'm sold, and I'm like, sign me up.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very true, though. I mean, I like how you explain it, because it's not like you're trying to explain what we're doing. You're explaining how it makes you feel, and people can connect with that. And that's what I'm missing. I'm like, so what you do when you lay down and you know, I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about.
You know, but you have that for your dance, though. I mean, you open with that for your dance. You're going to feel sexy. You're going to feel confident. You're going to feel. You're going to feel. You're going to feel. And then, but what about that Pilates thing? Like, well, you have to engage your core, and then, like, nah, just stick with the feel thing that works for you.
Exactly. Well, I feel good about it. I learned something new today of how to explain that. I'm definitely going to use that. Someone's saying yoga equals union. I missed it. If I could scroll down.
Yeah, AP poses, not Pilates.
Yes, yeah. Not Pilates.
And you know what's funny? My wife teaches yoga, and she's learning Pilates right now as well. And she explained it like yoga originally was designed to help people to stay in poses for a long time for meditation, right?
Yes.
So it's like yoga's teaching you stillness, whereas Pilates is teaching you movement.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not fully it. I know there's yoga people on here who would probably be like, no, that's not right. But I feel like, I know. But to some degree, it's teaching and preparing your body to be able to stay in a place of stillness for a long time with comfort.
You're right.
Whereas Pilates is really setting your body up to move with strength and intentionality, right? And I think,
Joe Dabble.
Joe Dabble. Of course, it's definitely inspired by yoga, no question. He pulled from everywhere. He's brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. But when I explain yoga versus Pilates to hockey players, because a lot of hockey guys got into yoga for stretching, I would say to them, like, flexibility is good, but what you need is strength through your range of motion.
Through your range of motion. Yeah, that's
right. So it's not about just being bendy. It's about being able to have a full range of motion and strength from start to finish through that range of motion.
Right.
Right. So, Alexander, that's my wife there. Yoga poses and asanas are designed to allow stillness and meditation. Pilates is designed for movement. Yeah.
Yeah, love that. Can we copy and paste that? I need that.
Okay.
Markeisha Pioki, she's also a Pilates instructor in yoga. And she's like, yeah, right on. I love the feedback. She's right on with that. And I think that is great, keeping it simple. I love all the comments, so now I don't have to say what I've been saying.
Yeah.
It's simple, and everybody will want to do Pilates based on that information. But I was just talking to, I love that description I'm sharing with my speech class right now. Good. We are changing lives here.
There you go. By the minute.
The world will know the difference between yoga and Pilates today.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a client, and she was saying that she was doing yoga, and with that practice, you were holding poses. I can't remember; it was a long time, and that in itself is challenging. Yes. I feel like I'm made for movement, and so holding a pose that long, you might get me for about 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, I'm like, so what are we doing next?
Right.
And Pilates, I feel like allows that. What are we doing next? It's constantly moving, constantly transitioning, but it's still very much so mind and body connection. You have to think about what you're doing. And that's why it works for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I can't. After 30 seconds, I'm like, please help. You know.
No, yeah, after 30 seconds, I'm like, I hate my life after 30 seconds. I'm like shaking, like I can't do it, right? Like I need to keep it moving. So maybe I do need yoga because I can't do it, but yeah,
Right. To
that's
be able to
one.
be quiet. She was like the instructor would tell her just to quiet your mind. And that is something, and it's, you know, in Pilates, we don't necessarily have to quiet our mind.
Yes,
It is very much so mind-body connection. So we are
yes,
being thoughtful and using focus, but in Pilates, it's quieting the mind so that your body can relax in the poses. And I'm that person in yoga, like it's horrible. I'm like looking around like, dang, they still hold and they're not even shaking. I'm like,
right.
oh, why
Yes,
is,
yeah,
and that I'm totally, completely doing the opposite of what yoga is for at that point. So I
right.
think everybody on the yoga lovers and the Pilates lovers, I think it's
Yeah,
great to try.
yes. Craziness. Who would you say is your ideal client? Someone walks in the door and you said dancers, you've said like active aging adults, you know, like your boys, for example. Like who is it that you were like, I would train you for free the rest of my life if you walked in my door right now?
Um, that's a good question, and I should have been prepared for this one. I I do feel a reward when I have senior clients, because it doesn't take much and they really appreciate the functionality that they get
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
from Pilates. So I would say if I had to think about the most reward, it would definitely be from senior clients. When I work with a senior client, it makes me want to dive more into my practice. It makes me want to learn more. It
Yes.
makes figure out how to really help them. I love to hear that I was able to, you know, do this or do that or reach up or tie my shoe. That makes me feel like I'm on top of the world, you know.
Yeah, yes.
Client who has severe arthritis, and when I see stuff like that, I want to help.
Hmm.
I want to make it better. I'm not a doctor. I'm like, girl, give me a scalpel. Let me go in and fix this. You know,
Yes.
when I see stuff like that, or when I'm working with a client like that, it makes those clients make me want to do more. Those clients make me want to dive. Those clients make me want to be like, yes, I'm getting master certified, and I'm about to get, you know, my anatomy degree, and you know. So if I had to say what feels the most rewarding, it's that, you know, just to hear them, you know, tell me stories, or you know, see them do something that they weren't able to do, you know, when we
Yes.
first started, and then they're able to do it, or to be able to. Sometimes people don't receive lots of feedback or compliments, but to
Yes.
be that voice for people, to be like, I know you don't feel good about whatever else is on everybody, but your abdominals are strong. We just got to work on your seat, you know, and just to see them like,
Yes.
what, something strong on me, you know. So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
those clients make me want to be a better instructor.
Amen.
Pick me. And
I know.
not
You just got yourself like five new clients just by that little speech there. That was good.
the doors of the church are not open.
Yes, for real. And that's like what you're saying there too. Those words of affirmation are so powerful.
It
And
is.
like, do you ever have those moments where you're teaching a class or you're teaching an individual and you realize like this is the only positive affirmation this person has gotten,
Probably, yeah.
or this is the only touch that this person has gotten, or this is the only time that they are actually giving an hour to themselves. Like this time is so much more precious
It's sacred.
than it's sacred. Thank you. That's a word. That's a perfect word. Sacred. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a lady that I love. She's just so delighted. She delighted is the word. And when you take class, at the end of class, you know, we're like, all right, and roll down and take a breath, inhale, exhale, and everybody's, you know, and we're finished. And she's just like, and she's just so delighted after every class. And moments you can't, you know, I had someone ask me, how do you? There are like Thursdays I teach 7 hours. I do 3 hours in the morning, 4 in the evening. And she was
Yes.
like, how do you teach this many classes in a day? I'm like, well, it's good. It's just by that last class, my cues are horrible. You know, I'm like, put your eye at your elbow and make sure your wrist is over your ankle. And I'm like, what is that?
What?
And I said, but the reason why I'm able to do it is because each new group is there because they're there because they need something. They don't
Yes.
know, not that they don't care, but it's not their job to be worried about the fact that I've taught 6 classes already. They're
Yes.
there because they need something, and I have an opportunity to give them that.
Hmm.
And if I don't do a good job, they're not going to come back.
Right.
So I do it because they walk in the door with fresh energy, and they're there because it's their sacred self-care time. It's my job to give them something. They have to leave feeling different than when they came, or I didn't do my job.
Yes. Right.
So very right. It's sacred, and people they feel good when they've had a good class, and they feel good because they want to go buy stuff, they want to talk to you, they want to
Mm,
and that's exciting. It's
that is
exciting.
so exciting. I work at a community center as well, and today's the first day post quarantine, where we're opening up, and I'm gonna be teaching my group class at the community center once again. And I'm so excited for that because once again, I'm back to an old community of people that they just find so much life in that class, right? So everything you're saying there, like I love like Lisa Reed's comment there, like you are so inspiring. Like, absolutely, Meoka, you're so yeah, like all you're saying is just so rich, and the people that you see are just really, really blessed to have you in their lives.
I appreciate that. I
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
and I think while I have you on here, because I'm just obsessed with more men doing Pilates and doing that practice. I think there was a football camp and I was asked to come and do yoga, and I was like, well, I can teach very basic sun salutation. I will not disrespect for all my yoga people. Thank you all. But I can do some, but I do Pilates, and these athletes need Pilates, and so I was able to work with those athletes, and they were just struggling, and I was like, man, give me like a month of
right?
consistent guys. They're gonna be so strong. But if they were able to see someone like you and be able to like apply that to their practice, or even I could share videos of you doing it, and they could see how strong they could be,
Yes.
that's everything. I can talk
Mm,
all day about Pilates, but until someone can see someone that looks like them and that looks strong, and then that's when it matters. So
yes,
I just want to know more about, for my people who are on here, men doing
sure,
Pilates. Get your husbands, get your friends, get your boyfriends. Your guys need to do this Pilates with you. Y'all
they
all
do.
to look in the rearview mirror and drive safely and not have to help each other go to the bathroom when you get old.
That's that's your selling point?
a
Oh, that's a great selling point.
couple that does Pilates together stay together. But I guess what I'm asking is, I would like to know more about, for my people watching, when did you
Sure.
start? Um, More about
Yeah,
your experience.
absolutely. I played football, university, like high school, all that. And when I was in high school, I hurt my back, and nothing really crazy, but enough that I had to go to chiro. And his response was, well, stop playing football.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, I'm gonna ignore that piece of advice. And I went on and played, continued to play, went to university and all that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then when I came back, I was doing a Pilates class at this local gym, and it was a tough enough class. But
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that by going to this Pilates class once a week, my 3 times a week going to the chiro became 2 times, and then once a week, and then every other week, and then like once a month. So it's like my Pilates became prehab instead of going to rehab with this chiro.
Oh, nice.
You know what I'm saying? So like I realized that like Pilates was changing my posture and my core strength, and is preventing this back pain I was always in
Every
pain with, right?
Yeah.
So then I took a course just out of my own personal interest. And
Mm-hmm.
then a few years later, I did a peak Pilates, the comprehensive, like the level one. So I did that whole course.
That's Pilates.
Yeah, yeah. Pam Garcia was my instructor there, and she was phenomenal, learned a ton. And then just recently, again, I took, like you, debating whether if this is enough or more, and I decided I wanted to dive deeper and did another apprenticeship. So Lily Viola, who's in Toronto area, she has a certification course, an apprenticeship course, and Chris Robinson from Texas, Houston,
Mm-hmm.
came up for it. So I got to learn Pilates from a male track athlete, kickboxer kind of guy. So like a non-dancer black male teaching Pilates, right?
Shots
So
fired.
so exactly. So then it's just like, okay, well, if I can learn from him, then I have an idea, a brand, a model of what looks like for me, because I'm not the dancer background, I'm the sports background. So I want to make this accessible to athletes, right? And that's why I started that Real Men Do Pilates handle on Instagram, so people could just see guys. When I say real men, I mean men who are confident in their own skin, men who aren't afraid to try something new, not like machismo man, but like just that from the inside out, confident men can do this and expose their own weaknesses and get past them and get to a place of strength. So that's where I landed at Real Men Do Pilates, and that really is my crusade. Just get more men doing Pilates, get athletes doing it, let them recognize that this is for them.
Yeah, I love that, and kind of take away this perception that it's for women or it's a woman thing, because it's not. And even if we took away the word hard, like it has nothing to do with it being hard. It's just about taking care of your body. You know,
Yes.
body's super functional for a very long time. And I'm like, who doesn't need to do that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think that's the most important. So that's why I love what you're doing. I believe that the platform is going to be crazy because more men will find out about it and they'll get on board. You know,
Yeah, hope
I think
so.
me, because of my background, I'm doing certain things. It looks like, okay, there's no way I'm going to be able to kick my leg up like that. You know, but I've been doing it for so long. After 5 years of doing sidekick and being a dancer, of course my leg is going to, kick up here. But what does that look like for a man? Or
Yes.
is that necessary for the man in his practice? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not even necessary. There's so many exercises that we do that are just, specific for, what that person needs. So
Yes. Yeah.
bodies can be different for people in
Right.
general.
Exactly. I think that's why I wanted to have you on too, Meoka, because I love what you're doing for women. I think that there's a parallel with what I'm doing. Like there's something about empowering men and giving them confidence. There's something about empowering women and giving them confidence at a base level. That's really all we're doing is just empowering people to realize how awesome they are.
Right,
You
right.
know,
And how strong they are,
how
how strong
strong they are.
they
Yeah.
get to see a vision of how strong they can be. Because I think one of the things that stuck with me with my trainer when I was getting my certification, she said, and I was like, how am I going to, with peak, there's a traditional order. And I was like, this
Yeah.
is crazy. I'm going to memorize this. And she was like, when you get it, it's going to be like the back of your hand. I'm like, no, it's like the back of your hand. I'm not going to memorize it. But you do. But I remember thinking the work was challenging, even with the dance background. And thank you for that, One Sound Vibe Studios Lafayette. I appreciate that. Even with the work that I was doing, it was hard. It
Yes.
was hard. It was challenging, and I thought I was stronger than I was. But now when I look back, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about that at all. And she just said the thing about Pilates is that it's never going to be easy. It's never going to be easy. And I was like, what? I was like, well, why am I even doing this? I'm
Yeah.
never going to master it. But
Yeah.
what she was telling me is that the practice is always going to challenge you. It's
Challenge
always
you. Yeah.
challenging. And I embrace that now. I'm like, okay, I don't have to master Pilates. I just need to practice Pilates. It's always going to be a practice.
Exactly. We have 3 minutes left. That was like the fastest
And
15
we went
minutes.
so fast.
Any closing thoughts for your people? Any words of inspiration? Not like you haven't been inspiring for the last 50 minutes.
I appreciate that. I do appreciate everyone that came on. I love reading the feedback. I love when I'm the person that if I'm watching, I'm always typing. So I
Yes.
love reading people's feedback. So thank you for everybody that gave some feedback and chimed in. And then the only thing I can say is that one of my biggest things is to be in your lane. It doesn't mean you can't do other things, but be powerful and be confident in what you do naturally well, and just ride it out till the wheels fall off, and just stretch it and expand it and see what other people are doing and see what you can add. There's really nothing we can remake at this point, I don't think, or reinvent, but we can still just continue to expand things. And my biggest thing is just create the life you want to live. It's an ongoing process. Never feel like you're stuck. Sometimes people feel like I'm stuck here. And my mom always said there's more than one way to skin a cat. So
Yep.
whenever I feel stuck, I remember, I'm sorry, no cats were injured in this taping. Whenever I feel stuck, I remember those words,
Yes.
you're never stuck. You always have the power to move into a different space
Yes.
if you're open to it. So.
Amazing.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. Such a rich conversation.
Yes, I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.